Welcome, everyone. I'm grateful to see you all. As you join the meeting, we encourage you to mute yourself, and we will begin in just a couple of minutes here. Welcome, everyone who's just joining us. We're grateful to see you all. We're gonna just wait a couple more minutes for others to join. I know it's a Thursday evening Zoom, so I know for many people are out on the town or finishing dinner. Welcome, everyone. We're so grateful to see you all tonight. My name is Landon Rankin. I'm the coordinator for the Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance, which is under the nonprofit umbrella of SB Act. I wanted to start out tonight asking that if you would, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat window, maybe share if you are a part of a faith community or an organization or nonprofit. We'd love to hear from you. I'm going to lead us off tonight with just a brief interfaith prayer. And so this comes from, I believe, the Unitarian Universalist Association. Source of justice, who's known by many names, let us not swerve from the path of righteousness that leads to just and equitable relationship. Open our eyes that we may see the immigrant and the undocumented, whose labor enables and sustains our living, the farm worker, the hotel maid, the line cook, the child care provider, the healthcare worker. Give us the courage to stand with those crossing our borders, escaping economic oppression and political persecution, seeking work to support their families, aspiring to participate in the bounty of creation. Give us the strength to confront the prejudice and intolerance of those who are fearful and respond by closing our borders to those who sojourn seeking life and opportunity. Give us the will to leave behind the safety of our sanctuaries and temples and claim our place in the movement to transform the creation, that our voice, our heart, our spirit will join the voice, the heart, and the spirit of all who demand to live with respect, justice, and peace. Source of direction, who is known by many names, in our daily living, let us be guided by the highest estimate of the worth and dignity of every person, regardless of their legal status, and let us not forget that the creation is founded on justice and that we have the moral responsibility to bring forth justice into these times. May it be so. Well, it's really lovely to see you all. I mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting. Please do feel free to introduce yourself in the chat window. We'd love to hear if you're a part of a faith community or an organization locally. We are going to start tonight. I'm really excited to hear from, we have a group from our Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance that has formed a border support campaign that has an ongoing partnership with a shelter just south of the border in Mexicali. And we're going to be hearing from them tonight. We also have some presentations from our Afghan Refugee Task Force. We'll hear about some local legislative updates. And then just talk a little bit about mobilizing our congregations as we approach another fun election cycle. And so I'm really excited. I want to start with the border support group. I'm going to pass it over to John, Jeanette, and I believe Anna as well.
Okay. Thank you, Landon, and good evening. I was one of a group of 6 people who went to the border in April. And these are some of the images from our visit there, which I'd like to show you. We took with us 9 large suitcases full of art supplies, which had been collected, which had our youth groups at the Unitarian Society and at Trinity Episcopal raised the money to buy the art supplies and also to buy the suitcases. So we took them across the border with us. And
John, we're still not seeing the screen. We're not seeing the presentation yet.
We're not. Okay.
Nope.
Well. Huh. Very sorry. Here we go. Try this. And is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. So here we are with the suitcases crossing the border. And there's the famous fence. And this is the shelter. This is the Posada del Migrante in Mexicali. And as you can see, it's it was once a hotel, and it has now been converted to be a shelter for asylum seekers waiting to cross the border. This is another part of the shelter operation. There's a soup kitchen and a small dormitory at this building. This is the common area inside the shelter. You can see the rooms and also the tables where people eat. And on this occasion, where children were playing with, or were making art with new supplies. Some of the residents. Here is Altagracia Tamayo, who is with us this evening, and we'll have the pleasure of hearing from her in a few minutes. She is the manager. She is much more than the manager. She is the person who makes the shelter work. Here you can see us arriving with the suitcases, and the children are taking a powerful interest in what we've brought. And they wasted no time in getting right to work with their new art supplies. It was really a wonderful thing. So those green tote bags were purchased by the youth groups to contain the art supplies. Here are a group of adults who took part in an ESL class. An ESL teacher from San Diego named Michelle went with us also that day and offered this class to the adults who were eager to take part. There's Michelle. And here we can see in the center, Altagracia, and just to the right is Sister Suzanne, who is who founded the nonprofit Border Compassion, which funds the shelter. And all the children were gathered around and having juice bars. And it was a big occasion. This gentleman was one of the people we spoke with there. He's from Honduras. He had been, he is a climate refugee. His whole area was wiped out by 2 hurricanes, and they had absolutely nothing left. So they were forced to flee for the border. His story was very moving. These folks were also from Honduras, also hoping to start a new life in the US. This woman is from Mexico. She was a victim of cartel violence in her region of Mexico, as well as domestic abuse. So she was hoping also to cross. And this gentleman had his little son with him. And this fellow is from Guatemala. He was traveling with his grandmother. And here's our friend Deb talking with one of the children. And here you can see 2 of our friends from that day, Christina and Luz, who have now crossed over into the United States. They're living for the moment in Stockton, and we'll be visiting in Santa Barbara on October 28th. I just confirmed that with them today, so we're very much looking forward to seeing them. Anna studying Duolingo with one of the children. And here's a picture of our group. We were at dinner in Calexico. So, okay. So then, if I might, I would also like to play a short video for you of Deb Karoff when she spoke at in the service at the Unitarian Society on July 31st this year. This is a brief excerpt from her presentation, but it's a very powerful reflection on bearing witness. I have to reshare. Go. There we go.
Bearing witness is a powerful spiritual practice. I am acutely aware of the privilege I carry and that I cannot do much to change the intolerable circumstances at the border. It is emotionally painful and hard to witness the palpable desperation of the residents who are fleeing deadly and dangerous situations. They took huge risks by traveling to the border, and they want to create a life in America for themselves and for their children. There were times I felt that some residents were looking to us to do much more than pass out tote bags and listen to their stories. I expect some of them hoped that we could hide them in our cars and sneak them over the border. I had a similar wish. Bearing witness is also about asking if the trip changed anything. Did it matter? Well, we have stronger connections within our local faith community and stronger connections to Border Compassion. Building relationships and coalitions is one of the ways that we create systemic change. And we are planning another trip to the Mexicali shelter in January. In terms of the circumstances for the shelter residents, our presence did not change much for any of them, except to provide some welcome distraction from the boredom of sitting around all day. But here's the thing. I believe our presence that one day mattered. We brought gifts, we brought some joy, We brought our full and loving hearts. We witnessed and embraced the full humanity of the people who we met. I often think about the people we met that day, and I wonder if they are still at the shelter or if they've been lucky enough to cross over, either sanctioned by the US government or by crossing in the dark of night. Being here speaking to all of you is another aspect of bearing witness. We tell the stories we heard. In telling the stories, we hope to remind all of you that the world needs all of us to bear witness and that doing something matters. The world needs our love and compassion, and we have much to offer. Thank you.
Well said. So I think Pastor Love would like to say a few words now. Jeanette?
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeanette Love, and I'm the pastor of the Catholic Church of the Beatitudes. And I was able to be with these wonderful people in spring to cross the border and to be at this shelter. I've been reading a book by Father Greg Boyle, who's the founder of Homeboy Industries. And there's a sentence that really struck me. He says, "We are sent to the margins, not to make a difference, but so that the folks on the margins will make us a difference." And I think that's so important. And that's what I've experienced. When I went to the border, one of the thoughts I had and one of the gifts I wanted to offer, I had been trained in capacitar. Capacitar is an opportunity to heal ourselves and heal the world. It's teaching body-based practices for people who are going through trauma. And Pat Kane, who's the founder, has been teaching this all over the world, literally. She has a lot of her information on the website in 38 languages. And so what we're hoping when we come in January is to follow up with what Pat Kane is going to do in December. December, she's going to the shelter. And she's going to teach some of these techniques for these people so that they then can have their own way of healing themselves of the trauma through some of these body-based techniques. And Hillary, who's on here with me, she actually speaks Spanish fluently, and she was also trained. Hillary, you want to raise your hand? Okay, so she was also trained in capacitar. I don't know Spanish, but I'll be her assistant. And so we can actually work with the children and work with the adults as well. So, hopefully this is something we can add to what's already been brought to the shelter and continue to help these people be prepared for when they cross over to the US, or if they get denied, that at least they have some way of being able to help themselves. So now I think I'm going to pass this on to Altagracia. Altagracia, good to see you again. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Hola a todos.
Yeah.
She says she's good, and hello everyone.
Es un placer verlos.
It's
Wow.
nice. It's such a pleasure to see you, all of you guys again.
Y gracias por hacer compañeros en el camino.
And thank you so much for making friends in all of this way and
Para el bienestar de todos estos migrantes.
for the good of all of these immigrants.
Cada día les digo yo
That every day when I told all of them
que todo lo puedo en Cristo porque me fortalecen.
that they can do anything if they had God help.
Esas son las palabras de mi madre, que si se puede, y que tengo que tener fe en Dios.
That was the words from my mother, that I can do anything with having a faith in God.
Y eso es lo que trato de transmitirle a todos los migrantes.
And that's what I want to transmit to all the immigrants right here.
La esperanza y la fe en Dios de que todo va a salir bien.
The hope and faith in God that everything is fine.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. A ustedes. El camino no es fácil.
It's not an easy way.
Y lo único que le pido a Dios cada día que me dé fuerza y salud,
And every day I pray to God to give me help and to give me strength.
porque si Él me puso en este camino,
Because if He put me on this place,
hasta el día de mi último respiro, seguiré ayudando.
to the last breath that I take, I will be able to help these people.
¿Qué les puedo decir? Hay muchas cosas que se pueden decir,
There's a lot of things that I want to say to all of you guys,
pero la fe es la que nos sostiene y sostiene a todos los migrantes, a todas estas familias que cada día llegan más y más y más.
but the faith is that keep us stronger and stronger. Me, my family, and all the
Si desean hacerme algunas preguntas, pues aquí estamos.
you need to ask me one question or whatever you need, I'll be here. That's all.
¿Ok? ¿Qué más puedo decir? Sí, dime. Dile que si
Thank you
quiere
very
hacer una
much.
pregunta.
I wonder cuántas personas son en la cabina ahora.
192.
192 people. It's on the cabin right now.
Pero en estos momentos
But
Yeah.
in these moments,
se abrió una esperanza
we open a new hope
y estamos haciendo el proceso nuevo
and we are making the new process
para pasar a Estados Unidos.
to cross to the US.
El sábado y domingo pasan 25 migrantes a Estados Unidos entre el sábado y domingo.
This Sunday and Friday, Saturday will be like 25 immigrants crossing to United States.
En estos momentos se está llevando el proceso
On these moments, we are making the process right now
de inscripción
of inscription
para que los migrantes
for the immigrants,
comprueben ante el CBP
proof about the CBP.
por qué piden asilo.
Why are they asking for asylum?
Se pretende que en estos 2 meses
We are pretending that in these next 2 months,
pasen 522 migrantes, 522 migrantes.
we will be crossing the border about 502 immigrants in the United States.
En este momento, solamente Mexicali
In this moment, right here on Mexicali,
tiene abierto el proceso.
we have opened the process.
Chihuahua, Tamaulipas, Piedras Negras, Tecate y Tijuana están cerrados.
Chihuahua, Tamaulipas, Piedras Negras, or
Tecate
Tecate, they are
y
closed.
Tijuana
In
están
Tijuana,
cerrados
they are closed right now.
porque los migrantes saturaron el paso.
Because there's a lot of immigrants on there, so they stopped the pass.
Como era mucha multitud
Because there were a lot of immigrants,
y el gobierno americano dijo que había mucho peligro,
and the American government see there was a lot of immigrants, so they told there was a lot of danger.
cerraron los procesos.
They closed the process.
Este es un proceso piloto
This is a pilot process
que si no se nos sale de las manos,
that if we have it in our hands right now,
podremos pasar más migrantes.
we can pass much more immigrants.
¿Alguna pregunta?
If you have any question, I'll be glad.
Thank you so much, Altagracia. Yeah, are there any questions for our border support group or for Altagracia as she's with us tonight? Lorinda.
Yes. Altagracia, how did you decide to start the shelter? ¿Cómo tuvo la idea de empezar posada?
Oh, yo soy migrante, yo soy de Sinaloa, orgullo tengo. Entonces,
I am an immigrant and I'm from Sinaloa, and I'm very proud for my beginnings, for my race.
mis padres son migrantes
My parents, they are immigrants,
y también mi padre vino con un sueño
and my father came here with a dream,
y nos quedamos en estas tierras.
and we stay here on this land.
Yo tuve la fortuna
And I have the luck
de vivir mi vida como yo quería.
to live my life to the way that I like.
De chica fui muy rebelde
I was very unhealthy from that I was younger,
y conocí muchas cosas que hay aquí en Mexicali.
and I met a lot of things that they are here in Mexicali.
Y yo le dije a Dios, Dios, dame fuerzas y permíteme ayudar a la gente que pueda.
And I pray to God every single day back in the days, God, just give me help, to give me faith to face all of those.
Crié el primer centro comunitario de bienestar social
I raised the first community center from immigrants
en la zona de tolerancia de Mexicali.
in Tolerance Zone here in Mexicali.
Empecé a ayudar mujeres
I
violentadas,
start to get some help. Women people that they get hurt,
trabajadoras sexuales,
sexual workers as well,
familias que venían a brincarse a Estados Unidos
families that they came here to US, cross the border illegally,
y que los esposos las abandonaban aquí.
and that the husbands, they live there alone.
Y de una cosa me llevó a otra.
That's the way that I did all the things,
El verlas tan desamparadas,
to see all that desperation.
empezamos a dejarlas a que durmieran en nuestro centro comunitario.
When I saw the first time the desperation, I tell all those people that they can rest in a bathroom that they like.
Y así estos 35 años de trabajo
And that's the way that this 35 years of work, of hard work.
tengo 11 años con el albergue.
I have 11 years with this community center
para ayudar a quien lo necesite.
to help all the people that they are needed.
Y es mi vida.
And that's my life. That's it.
Ya no sé, son parte de cada niño que está aquí es mi nieto.
Every kid, every young man, all of they are here. They are kind of like my family.
Sus papás, sus mamás,
Their parents, their mothers,
vienen arrastrando a los niños
they came here with all the kids
porque ellos no pidieron ser migrantes.
because they didn't ask to be an immigrant.
Los sacaron de su familia, de su país,
The parents took them away from their family,
de sus amigos, de su escuela.
from their friends, from the school.
Y para mí cuando están aquí,
And for me, when they came here,
quiero que sigan siendo niños,
I want them to be still being a kid,
que jueguen, que corran, que estudien
to play, to run, to study, to do things as well,
y darles lo más que puedo.
and to give them all of the needs that a kid needs to have
hasta que logren pasar.
until they pass the earth.
No sé, que yo nací de una familia, soy de una familia muy humilde,
I am from a very, very humble family
que siempre nos enseñó a dar,
that they always teach me to give people.
siempre hubo un plato de comida para quien llegara a la casa de mi madre.
To give people food, water, and whatever they need.
Porque ella decía que había mucha gente que necesitaba
Because my mother told me once that they are very, very people that they need help.
de la gente y que esas obras eran agradables a los ojos de Dios.
And that help that I give all that family, God will be blessing me forever.
Así como nosotros.
And that's the way that happens.
Mhm.
That's basically it.
Thank you, Altagracia. We have one more question from Blanca, and then I will turn it back to the group to share about next steps.
Hi, good evening. Señora Altagracia, primero que nada quiero felicitarla. I want to congratulate you for the great and wonderful job you're doing, por el trabajo tan extraordinario que está haciendo. And I have two questions. Tengo dos preguntas. Número uno, ¿cómo has sobrevivido financieramente por 11 años su albergue? How does your shelter have been surviving for the last 11 years financially? And number two, can you explain a little bit about the process of, for example, these 25 immigrants that are coming this weekend? Do they have legal advice?
Lo voy a hacer en hable lento.
En la segunda pregunta es, ¿nos puede dar un ejemplo de cuál es el proceso de los 25 inmigrantes, por ejemplo, que van a cruzar la línea este fin de semana? ¿Cómo es el proceso? ¿Tienen ayuda legal o cruzan con un escrito o hablan directamente con el oficial de Border Patrol? ¿Cómo es el proceso para saber si el oficial decide darles asilo o no? How can you explain about the process when they're crossing? Do they have to do a statement? Is the interview, do they have to present evidence? Cuéntenos cómo es el proceso de entrevista que van a cruzar los inmigrantes con CBP, con Customs and Border Protection.
Ok, ¿usted va a traducir o?
Yo lo puedo traducir.
Bueno, ¿quieres que conteste la primera
La
pregunta?
primera pregunta, ¿cómo se ha mantenido por 11 años su albergue?
Por 11 años, bueno, y en veces digo yo, con la ayuda de Dios, que siempre ha habido gente humilde. Antes los gobiernos nos apoyaban con la alimentación, nos ayudaban con la renta.
¿Gobiernos de México?
Y nos ayudaban, el gobierno de México.
Ok, déjeme traducir un segundito. She's saying that with God's help, she's been able to survive these 11 years. In the past, with Mexican government, they used to provide food and comida y qué más, y dinero, ¿verdad? El gobierno.
No, era lo que es el agua, la comida.
They
Okay,
provide
so basic
food
needs,
and they
water.
provide water as well.
Lo que nosotros teníamos que hacer un proyecto y ellos nos decían con cuánto nos podían ayudar. Por lo regular nosotros poníamos la renta, el agua y el alimento. Desgraciadamente la política de México es muy castrante, muy doloso para todas las asociaciones civiles de México. Desde que llegó este gobierno es lo peor de lo peor de lo peor, porque no nos ayudan en nada. El dinero que ustedes, tu gobierno de Estados Unidos, Biden, le da a mi país para migrantes es usado en otras cosas. En Baja California no recibimos ayuda ninguna asociación civil de migrantes. Eso es mentira. Yo he sido financiada en ocasiones muy lejos de proyectos que son algunos de asociaciones del otro lado. de ISF, en inglés, ¿cómo se llama?
ICF.
ICF, otra que IMPAO, sobre diferentes temas, porque Covina y es como la forma en que también nosotros conseguimos financiamiento, que son 2 veces al año, y la demás pues hacemos eventos de fondos. Yo soy de oficio panadera y en tiempo de frío vendemos tamales, vendo bolovanes y a veces es mucho esfuerzo porque trabajo, yo soy panadera de oficio.
Okay, that was long to translate, but mainly they receive a little bit of money from the government, from the US government, to civil and also from civil rights agencies. And they haven't been receiving money from the Mexican government since the new administration. She says this new administration is horrible to providing funds. So they have to do everything they can to get funds. She also said that she does a lot of fundraisers. She's a baker, so she bakes a lot and sells tamales and bread. And if somebody else can help me add anything that I forgot, that would be great. Diana, if you can help me.
You got it, Blanca. That's exactly what she said, that she doesn't get any funds from the Mexican government. It's just all fundraising and whatever else she can get to help support, you know, the shelter that she's running at this time.
Soy muy honesta, desde que llegó este gobierno para mí ha sido muy difícil.
I'm very honest with all of you since this government came here to my country.
Porque desde que llegó la pandemia,
Since the pandemic,
el gobierno nunca nos ha apoyado.
the government never support us from the pandemic.
El dinero que teníamos nosotros para la renta, para la luz,
The money that we used to have, you know, for the rent and for the food and for the water,
tuve que cerrar mis albergues
I
con la gente adentro
have to close all of my community centers with all the people inside it,
y estar gastando el dinero que era para otras cosas en sanidad, en todas las medidas sanitarias para el COVID.
and spending all of that money in COVID needs, you know, like,
Porque el gobierno nunca nos vacunó, nunca hizo nada durante esos 2 años de pandemia.
because the government never gives us any vaccine.
Se me murió una migrante hondureña
An immigrant from Honduras, she passed away during the pandemic.
me dejó 4 niños huérfanos.
He left 4 orphan children.
Que Susan, la madre Susan, padre Lorenzo y otros abogados de padre Lorenzo lograron pasarlo a Estados Unidos.
That mother Susan and Lorenzo father, they helped the children to cross the border to the US.
Esa fue la bendición que le llegó a esa familia.
That was the blessing that I was given from God to that family.
El gobierno aquí no nos regala ni siquiera agua.
The government here in Mexicali, they don't give us any piece of water.
Pertenecemos a la delegación federal.
We belong to the federal institution,
Que es el encargado de ayudarnos y no nos ayuda.
that they are the managers to be able to help us, but they don't do.
Por eso a veces flaqueo
That's the reason why sometimes I feel sad about
y
myself.
digo que voy a cerrar el albergue porque ya no puedo más.
And I tell myself that I'm going to close the community center because I cannot support it no more.
Pero cada vez que veo a los niños,
But every time that I see and I smile at every kid,
sigo adelante.
I keep moving.
Son muchas las presiones
There are many pressures on here
cuando no tengo una base económica con fortaleza.
when I don't have an strength economy based on.
Cada día es una lucha diaria
Every day is a fight
para la alimentación,
to the food of all the people
para seguir adelante.
to keep moving forward with them.
Creo que ustedes ayudarían mucho a todo el trabajo que nosotros hacemos,
I think that you guys will be a very good help to all the work that I've been doing these past years,
porque pueden mandar miles de cartas al gobierno federal, al presidente de México,
because you can send many and thousands of Mexico
para que él sepa que no estamos solos
just for them to let you know we are not alone.
y que no diga mentiras, que a todos los migrantes los recibe con brazos abiertos,
And for him to not tell any lies, that he is not aware to be an open arms for all the immigrants that came here,
porque están llenas las estaciones migratorias de México
because all of the immigrant stations in Mexico, they are full of immigrants,
que no les dan la tarjeta humanitaria para pasar a nuestro México.
that they don't give them the community card to enter to Mexico.
La prueba está que Tapachula tiene más de 5,000 personas.
Tapachulas right now,
Migrantes.
they have more than 5,000 people, immigrants.
Veracruz, a todos los mandan a Veracruz
All of them, they are sending to Veracruz right now,
y no los dejan bajar a ningún puerto fronterizo.
and they don't have the opportunity to cross to the other side. They don't have the opportunity to be in a border.
Mi presidente
My president
es el primer violador
is the first raper
de los derechos humanos de los migrantes.
of the human rights of all the immigrants.
Instituto de Migración
The Institute of Migration
es el primer violador
is the first raper
y discriminador
and discriminator,
y trata de personas
and to deal with all the people
de los migrantes,
of all of the immigrants
ya que les cobran
that they are paying for
por soltarlos
or let them free
para que anden aquí.
be around all of these places.
Estamos hablando de peruanos, venezolanos, colombianos,
And we're talking about people from Peru, from Venezuela, from Colombia as well,
que llegan a mi país por avión
that they came here in my country by airplane
y son apresados
and they are getting in jail
y no dan información de ellos.
and they don't give any information about them.
En estos momentos,
From this moment right now,
todos los que lleguen sin algún permiso de México
all of the people that came here without a permission from Mexico,
son deportados
they are getting deported
y no avisan a las familias
and they don't advise all of the families
y están haciendo muchas cosas muy mal.
and they are doing very, very bad stuff.
¿Alguna pregunta?
If you have any question, I will be very glad to answer.
Thank you so much, Altagracia.
Muchas gracias. Gracias por todo lo que hacen. Thank you for everything what you do.
La segunda
wanna-
pregunta, ¿cuál era?
La segunda pregunta, ¿cómo era el proceso de estos inmigrantes que van a cruzar el fin de semana? Si nos puede explicar el proceso desde el principio hasta el final.
Okay.
If you can explain the process of the 25 immigrants that are going to cross this weekend how the whole process is, starting from the beginning until the end. Please.
Ahorita tenemos un enlace de una plataforma.
Right now, we have a link of a website.
Mi maestra
My teacher
es la presidenta municipal de Mexicali.
is the president of Mexicali.
En una reunión,
In a meeting that we have,
yo le hice la solicitud que ella fuera vocera con CBP en Estados Unidos
I made the request for her to be ICP in the United States
con migración
with migration,
para que los de Mexicali tuvieran la oportunidad, como lo estaba teniendo Tijuana, de pasar.
in order for all the people to have the same opportunity of the process like in Tijuana to cross all of the world.
Gracias a Dios se abrió esa oportunidad por ella.
And thanks to God, that opportunity is available right now, thanks to her.
Ahorita lo que estamos haciendo es inscribirlos
Right now, what we are doing here is to write all of the people's names here
en un formato oficial.
in an official way.
Los investigamos nosotros, si ellos ya han sido deportados, cuántas familias son, por qué se vienen de su país, si tienen pruebas o no.
We made them a lot of questions, like why they are leaving their country, how many times they are getting deported, and if they have a kind of agreement.
Ya que se llena la solicitud,
And when the request is already full,
yo aviso al coordinador general del programa,
I let know to the official coordinator of this program
solicitándole un día
to make a request of 1 day
para pasar a 25 migrantes.
to pass of 25 immigrants.
Ya de ahí, él me manda mensaje,
And after that, he sent me a message.
me dice un día antes
He let me know 1 day before,
para que ellos se hagan la prueba de COVID.
just for them to make the COVID test.
Por un ejemplo, si él me dice el martes, mándame las 25 migrantes,
And for example, if he told me on Tuesday, you need to send me 25 immigrants,
los migrantes tienen el lunes para sacarse el examen de COVID.
the immigrants just have 1 day, that it will be Monday, just to make the COVID test.
El martes se presentan a las 7:30 de la mañana.
And the Tuesday, they going to be on here on 7:30 a.m.
Y de ahí, algunos se quedan en el mismo albergue
And from there,
que se llama SIM.
they're going to be in the same community center that the name is SIM.
Para que migración
In order to migration
de aquí de Mexicali
from Mexicali,
van por ellos a las 5:40 de la mañana
they go for them at 7:40 a.m.
y los presentan a Estados Unidos, a migración de Estados Unidos.
and they present all of those immigrants to United States.
Ya estando allá, ellos pasan a un hotel.
Once they are there, immigration, they are going to be in a hotel.
Ya el gobierno de Estados Unidos
And after that, the government of the US
les conceden el paso a la ciudad donde ellos van.
they're going to be available to be on the city that they going to be.
Esta es la primera vez que comenzó este proyecto
This is the first time that we open this project,
y es la primera vez que Covina va a pasar.
and this is the first time that Covina is going to be with us.
Como mañana se van los primeros 25,
Like tomorrow, they are going to leave 25 immigrants from here.
va la que es mi directora de aquí, que tienen el proceso que yo estoy siguiendo
They're going to be my director right here that she have the process right now.
Son aquellas familias que tienen desde el 2020.
They're going to leave all the family that they are from here since 2020.
Van a pasar primero todas las familias 2021
They're going to cross all the families from 2021.
y de ahí se va a hacer una lista
And from that moment, we're going to make a list
o las listas que sean necesarias de 25 en 25
or the necessary list from 25 to 25
para pasarlo como me los vayan pidiendo.
in order to cross to the US as I request.
La política que se está llevando el 2021, personas con enfermedades terminales
The politic that we have right now from 2021 is people who have like
o del colectivo LGBTIQ.
the people from the LGBTQ community and people who have
Ese es el proceso. Ya después que pasen estas personas, me van a hablar para yo saber la realidad de lo que va a pasar allá en Estados Unidos.
And after that process, they're going to be in touch with me just to let me know how it's going to be the next.
Hemos encontrado en los cuestionarios
We have found on these pages right here
que hay personas que estuvieron allá, pero salieron voluntariamente.
that they are people that they have been on the US, but they get out of the country by years,
O tuvieron una deportación de hace 17 años.
or they have a deportation order like 17 years ago.
Y se la van a jugar
And they're going to play in it.
para ver si Estados Unidos los deja pasar de
And,
nuevo.
they're going to have the risk. They're going to see if the United States will be in the process to let them cross again.
Yo no sé mucho de las leyes americanas,
I don't know. I don't have any knowledge about the American laws,
pero tengo la experiencia
but I have the experience
de haber pasado a 238 familias migrantes
to cross all of 238 immigrants' families
antes que se cerraran la frontera.
before the border were closed.
Y una cosa sí les puedo decir,
And I can assure you one thing.
la mentalidad de los autoridades de migración
The mentality of migration of the United States of America,
son muy diferentes de cada uno.
they are very different with each other.
Y cada uno actúa o les da asilo cuando quieren o no quieren.
And every one of them, they give the asylum to the people wherever they like or wherever they not.
Esa es la realidad.
That's the hard reality.
Yo puedo decir lo de mi país,
I can't say too much about my country,
pero en realidad las cosas de Estados Unidos en cuestión de migración
but the things about migration from the US,
cambian cada día.
they change a lot every day.
Es por eso que los lineamientos no son claros.
That's the reason why all the lines here, they are not very clear.
¿Ok?
So that's it.
Sí,
Have any
Muchas
answer? I'd
gracias.
be glad to.
Muchas gracias.
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 thank you.
De nada.
Gracias.
Gracias por su
Gracias.
testimonio.
Gracias.
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 We are a little bit off schedule. I just want to quickly direct to Rabbi Sarah. I know you may have to just jump off right now. If you want to just say a word before you leave, we'll ask, see if we can have another presentation another time.
Yeah, I apologize that I need to leave right at 8 o'clock your time. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you for the invitation to join your group. I'm not on your coast. I am here in Washington, D.C. as the Director of Clergy and Congregations for HIAS. And I wanted to just share with you guys some thoughts on how to, take the the will and the learnings that you have done as a group and really to channel them effectively for more organizing power within your congregations. So, I think all of you might be coming from congregations with different levels of experience and engagement, but you're all starting with a small group of people who are very committed to these issues. And the real trick is, how do you leverage that small group into more power within the larger community? And just a couple of suggestions, if these are not things your congregation has already done, I would recommend considering them. Number one, you've got to get your clergy to preach about it from the Bema, right? To take that small group of people and then to share that message out. And second, when the clergy preach about it from the Bema or from the pulpit, to turn that into an opportunity to create a shared value statement for the congregation. And that can then become a launch point for further future action. That if everybody in the congregation, whether through the board or through a congregational vote, agrees to a values affirmation of what your small group is doing, that becomes an opportunity for your group to continue to have the mandate to work on this stuff and to engage more folks moving forward. I do just want to share a couple of things. If you go to the Highest website, give me just a second. Share screen. Okay. On our Highest website, there's a Take Action tab. And different faith groups will have different national organizations that they can tap into. I recommend that you look, if you're Unitarians, look to Unitarian Source. For those who are part of the Jewish community, we have some really great stuff around Title 42 advocacy and activism. Title 42, of course, being the legislation, the outdated mandate that has essentially closed asylum at the border under the guise of COVID protocols. And one of the really helpful things that you can go to are these handy social media graphics here, that if you're on Facebook or if you're on any form of social media, that you don't have to come up with your own message. You can take these messages from Highest and just post them on your social media and help to amplify that voice out. And then for those who are looking to connect to Highest's advocacy long-term, we have our Jews for Refugee Facebook group that will just keep you in touch with our most kind of up-to-date things that we are doing as an organization. So I am just going to stop my share. I'm going to put this in the chat. I apologize, my time is cut short with you, but I look forward to engaging more deeply with your group and connecting you guys with Joe Goldman, who's our California rep. And I thank you, Landon. I thank you all for allowing me to join you.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank
And
you.
we'll be in touch with Joe. Have a good night. All right, thank you for allowing me to divert us. We'll return to this conversation with Sarah, but I do want to go back to our border support group and just share, we have a slide with some next steps that I believe we're engaging in. Is everyone able to see the slide?
Landon, may I speak to it? Is that okay? Oops.
Yes, please. I'll pull it back up.
Okay. I wanted to say a couple of things. One is we have found the Border Project Group that, and I want to give Molly Kellogg credit for this idea, which is that it is often helpful for us to find an organization that is doing this work, a nonprofit organization that is doing this work, so that we have a continuing relationship. And that's how we found Border Compassion. Border Compassion, the nonprofit started by Sister Suzanne Jabro. So we are working closely with her to support Alta Gracia and what's going on at La Cobina. This list came from Sister Suzanne after her meeting with Altagracia and others, and it's under constant, I have to say, amendment, because as Altagracia said, things change there every day. On the other hand, we know that learning English will be very, very helpful to these migrants and asylum seekers at any point in their journey to the United States. The second thing is that something to the special events that both help them practice their skills, but also give them relief from the sense of loneliness and abandonment and lack of care that many of them, if not all of them, feel living in the shelter. And so we, and then internet service, which I think is about, Altagracia called us, I think, from home, because the shelter has to pay for a yearly fee to the government, and it's $2,000 a year. And so without that internet service, we can't do a lot of things, whether it's legal consultation, English as a second language, or whatever. So we hope that your faith communities will be willing to raise funds for these projects and for general upkeep of the shelter. I will say that the need is great and ongoing. And so if you want to be helpful to the people who find themselves at the border, this is a really useful way to do that through our work with Border Compassion. One thing I wanted to say that we found out in working with Sister Suzanne was two things that she found most heartening about the work that we had been doing here. One, that we had been doing it as an interfaith group. She herself is a member of a Catholic religious community, and so she does have a lot of contact, and she's sort of, I have to say, beating the bushes in every Catholic parish from here to wherever she can raise support. But one of the things she very much appreciated about our work was that we were doing it in an interfaith way. And also that we had involved youth, and we have continued to talk at the Unitarian Society and also at Trinity Episcopal. And I believe Congregation B'nai B'rith also is going to be involved about involving our youth in these projects. So I think we understand that the problem is a systemic one and needs to be solved systemically. But while people are waiting at the border, we can't wait for systemic solutions and leave people alone. We can't leave people wanting and not knowing that they're cared for or cared about. So it's a both and, I guess I would say. I'm delighted, I'm going to take this opportunity to say I'm delighted that the representatives of Congressman Carvajal's office are here. I also happen to be involved with the League of Women Voters Immigration Group, both in California and also nationally. And you know that there are all kinds of organizations in Santa Barbara, the ILDC and others, that are working to help asylum seekers and immigrants once they get here. So thank you very much for the time tonight. And I hope that you will involve your congregations. If you'd like John and Jeanette to take this roadshow to your congregation, we'd be very happy to do that. And we hope that your congregants will be interested in learning more, in donating more, and in doing more. Thanks, Landon.
Thank you so much, Anna. So the ISA supports the Border Project as some of our eyes and ears to on the ground at the border. So we appreciate you reporting back to us so that we can continue to learn from your experiences and from what is happening in real time. We also want to share about some of what's going on locally with individuals that we've been working with. And so I'm going to pass it over to Molly to share from the Afghan Refugee Task Force.
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad to see so many friends on the line right now. And I'm really very proud of what the Border Project has done. Great strides to help that group across the border for us. My name is Molly Kellogg. I am involved with the Afghan Refugee Resettlement Task Force. I'm also very involved with the Immigrant Legal Defense Center and other aspects relating to immigrants in our community. I'm a member of Trinity Episcopal Church here in Santa Barbara, but I'm here today to talk to you about Afghan refugee resettlement, really. As many of you may know, about 80,000 Afghan refugees were transported into the US, and they were initially settled in US Army camps. A number were also transported to US allies, and many thousands of them are still awaiting entry to the United States. I was trained in refugee resettlement by the Episcopal Migration Ministries 4 years ago, not knowing when I would jump into this commitment. We set up the Afghan Resettlement Task Force of Santa Barbara in light of the immediate and severe need for resettlement. This is an interfaith organization with contributions from Trinity Episcopal Church, Santa Barbara Cares, which is the Jewish philanthropic organization in Santa Barbara, and the Unitarian Society, the Evangelical Trinity Lutheran Church, and there has been enormous assistance from the faith community all across Santa Barbara, including the Islamic Society. We set up this task force in order to welcome a family which arrived in Santa Barbara on Halloween last year. We welcomed a family that consisted of a mother, Shakriya, and 2 children, Ida, age 2, and Atia, age 7. I'm just using their first names to preserve privacy for the family. They arrived in the United States crowded in an air transport plane. Many of you saw photos of that. Airplanes made to transport troops, no seats, no heating. And that's how they arrived via the Middle East in the United States. So it was a significantly traumatic journey for Shakriya and her children. Their father, Shakriya's husband, was unable to board the plane at the same time they were able to, and he still remains in Afghanistan. So initially, Shakriya was housed with a kind and generous woman in Goleta, and she actually came to Santa Barbara because Shakriya, who was trained in Afghanistan as a dental hygienist, was offered work as a dental assistant here in Santa Barbara, or working actually in the office of a dentist. In the end, that job did not materialize. There were a lot of difficulties involved in settling this family in Santa Barbara. Number one, as we all know, it's a very expensive place to live. Secondly, there's no Afghan community here. So Shakriya and her children would have been very isolated. Shakriya had a brother in Dallas, and we discussed with Shakriya the option of her moving to Dallas, where there is a very large Afghan community. So she made that decision. We purchased a ticket for her. We set up a team in Dallas through our interfaith members of the Afghan Resettlement Task Force here in Santa Barbara, contacts they had in Dallas. And they found an apartment for her. They furnished the apartment, and they met her at the airport when she arrived. So this removal to Dallas took place in approximately January actually, of this year. So moving forward, and to give you a vision of Shakriya's current status. She is now linked with 3 refugee resettlement agencies in Dallas. All the resettlement agencies are very overburdened. So it took us 6 months to get her linked to resettlement agencies who could assist her with all the infrastructure needs that needed to be put in place so that she could settle into the community. So right now, Catholic Charities is handling her immigration matters, and they will help her with a job search. Mosaic is an organization that's providing psychological counseling and has also helped Shakriya get free childcare just recently. And a very impressive agency called Maruf, an Islamic agency, helped her purchase a car and paid auto insurance for 3 months. Shakriya passed her driving test on the first go. She is an educated woman. She actually drove a car in Kabul where they lived. So she had experience with that. Her oldest child, Atya, is in school and doing well. In fact, there may be a painting that will be posted up there. And she won a prize at her elementary school. I don't know whether that painting got posted yet, but if it's there, that's Atya's painting. Now that Shakriya has childcare, she can begin to search for a job. In the future, she will be taking classes so she can qualify to do dental work in Dallas. She needs to qualify with a license in order to do that. So it will be a long process. It's been a very hard adjustment for Shakriya. She's here without her husband, without the children's father. They miss their father. The psychological counseling, which we obtained for Shakriya, was really needed. And she is making progress in terms of stability and being able to adjust to her current situation. The Afghan Resettlement Task Force of Santa Barbara has committed to supporting Shakriya and her children for a full year, in other words, up to December 1st. And her budget runs about $1,300 a month. She has SNAP and she lives in assisted housing. I visited her a couple of months ago. I'm in touch with her on a very, very regular basis. And I've seen her apartment. It's a comfortable apartment. It's 1 bedroom. So she's sharing with her 2 children, but it has a balcony. It's in an assisted living location, but there's a playground for the children. There's a pool, and it's in a safe neighborhood. So the team in Santa Barbara and Dallas, we're actively involved with Shakriya as we teach and support her on things like setting up a budget, dealing with online banking. Now we'll be making job applications online. If anyone would like additional information, I really suggest you contact me. My information should be in the chat window, or I will put it there. If you would like to donate to help support Shakriya and her family, again, I believe we have donation information in the chat window. Landon, I'm not sure if it's there, but we can put it there.
I don't have that, but yeah, if you want to share that, that would be great, Molly. I'll put your contact info
I'll
down.
put it in the chat window. Also, I'd like to share some other really good news. I was contacted by Charles Ruth in January from San Luis Obispo, seeking information about Afghan refugee sponsorship. He was referred to me because people that I work with up there knew that we had had that experience. So I shared our experience with him. They put a team together. In May, they successfully settled a mother, a father, a 3-year-old daughter in San Luis Obispo, and later were able to settle also the mom's mother and the mom's younger sister. They all have housing, and the mother, father, and younger sister are employed. So they are making the adjustment. Charles and I had a conversation last night. We shared a lot of information about the difficulties of adjustment. It's a very hard adjustment for people from Afghanistan. Our immigrant community, as we know, has some familiarity with the United States. But people who are coming from Afghanistan, it's a completely different situation for them. So it's a serious level of difficult adjustment, taking a considerable amount of time. So if I can provide information to anybody, if anyone has questions, please let me know. This is very rewarding work, but also very difficult work. It takes, in this case, it takes a village. But we are so thankful that Shakriya and her 2 daughters, 3 women, are here in the United States and safe, rather than in Afghanistan now, where they would be unsafe and where their educational opportunities would be non-existent.
Thank you so much, Molly.
If anyone has questions, feel free.
I'm going to keep us moving just for the sake of time. I am going to post in the chat window, though, we also are, the ISA does try to advocate and support any legislation that we can to support our immigrant neighbors, and this is certainly an opportunity. The Afghan Adjustment Act is before the Senate, and that would be an opportunity to create a path to citizenship for those who were paroled as refugees after July 30th of 2021. So we encourage you to sign this petition, and also just let's keep up with this news story together. And speaking of legislation, I do want to also go to what's happening at a state level, because we have several kind of updates, both good and bad. One being, we've talked a lot as an ISA about the Vision Act. This was to try and close some of the loopholes that were left behind by the California Values Act that was passed back in 2017. This is to prevent ICE from being able to pick up those who are being released from our state and local jails. And unfortunately, this was vetoed by the governor. And so we're disappointed about this. And I'm waiting to hear what the next steps will be. I'm sure this will not be the end of this battle. But as of now, some of those loopholes do still stand. We also found out that the safety net for all, there was a recent bill that would have created some more safety net structures for those who are considered, well, those who are undocumented. I'm forgetting the wording right now. This was vetoed again at the state level. And so this is something that the 805 Immigrant Coalition, of which the ISA is a part, is continuing to support. This was just vetoed today by the governor. And so we're seeing a couple different policies that our governor, I think, is maybe considering a presidential run. And so we're seeing that there may be some reticence to be as supportive of things that might be a little more, I guess, considered different or would make him stand out as a candidate. But I will say on the positive side, the California IDs for All ruling was signed into law in September of this year, and that does allow anyone, regardless of legal status, to be able to get a California state ID, which is a huge win and very helpful for many of our undocumented neighbors who just need that to be able to access other benefits. And similarly, California just this year became the first state to allow Medi-Cal access for all of every age group, regardless of legal status. This is a huge win for our immigrant neighbors in California, our undocumented immigrant neighbors. The last remaining group was those in ages 25 to 49, and that was passed just this year. So we do want to celebrate that. We want to be really grateful to our friends at the 805 Immigrant Coalition, Cause, and others who've been working for those things. We'll continue to keep you updated as there are more legislative actions for you to take action under. Thanks, and I see that Molly has posted some of the information about donating to the Afghan Refugee Task Force in the window there. With our last couple minutes, I want to pass it over to Reverend Julia Hamilton with the Unitarian Society before we do just some final announcements to share a little charge for us.
So I'm just kind of recapping that all of this is possible because of this network that has ripples far beyond what we maybe even suspect or know. And so this only works when we keep being that interfaith group when we keep reaching out and bringing more faith communities on board. So I want to reiterate that we have our slideshows ready to go. Our volunteers who visited La Cobina, who worked with the Afghan resettlement and are more than willing to come and talk to your faith communities. Or if you have a friend or a colleague in a faith community who is not here tonight or who's not already engaged, that's, you know, that person-to-person direct storytelling and ask is really how Santa Barbara works and how human beings work. So I encourage you to think of your friends and colleagues who are in faith communities who aren't here, who may be a personal invitation to participate or have us come and talk during their social hour or make a presentation to their justice group or their clergy. We'll go anywhere and talk to anyone about this work. And I also want to lift up something that I think is unique and a good way to present this that I heard tonight, which is that so often there are stories of people who try to help, but then kind of abandon people halfway through. Like that's one of the dangers of doing direct service work and of doing justice work. There's people, you know, they show up once, they meet somebody, they make promises and then never stick with the commitments they make. And we are very careful not to make promises we can't keep and to keep the promises that we make. So for example, the Afghan resettlement, things changed, the process changed, the family moved to Dallas, but we stuck with our commitment to support the family in their journey. And not, you know, when the situation changed, we adapted. And I think that's something to be really proud of. And it's something to lift up to others that are doing this work alongside, that this group is committed to being faithful in our relationships. And so I want to just underscore that that's a big piece of us as an interfaith, as a faith-based organization. To do this work faithfully means accompaniment through time, not just a one-off kind of thing. And that's something I want to lift up and say thank you to everybody who's doing that faithful companioning. And it's something that you can talk about when you share the news about what it is that we're up to and how we work and how maybe we have our own little niche here. So keep up the good work, everybody.
So we do have a couple more remaining minutes left. I'll just share a couple closing announcements for us. One being that we do have an ISA newsletter, so this is a great way to stay engaged. I'll share my email address on the screen in a second. I'm also putting in the chat window ways that if you want to have your congregation take the sanctuary pledge, we also ask, we're trying to support this organization as a whole. So if you or your congregation would like to make a donation, we would gladly accept that for a continuance. But I want to share also Clue, one of our key partners, is going to have their annual gathering on Sunday, November 6th in the afternoon at the Unitarian Society. Sorry?
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
Can I ask you a question, guys, please?
Yes, please.
Mil disculpas la interrupción. Me llamó mucho la atención lo que estaba dando testimonio de la muchacha y el que pasaron a otro estado de la Unión Americana. Yo soy honesta, no sé cómo definir qué ciudades son menos costosas para los migrantes, porque muchos van a New York, New Jersey, Nueva York, Chicago, Illinois, a muchos estados de la Unión Americana y siempre me preguntan, y es muy caro allá, ¿cómo consigo el boleto de cuando yo pase de aquí para allá? Esa es la problemática que ellos tienen.
So I was having a question because how do you guys know how expensive it will be for the immigrants to be in any state of the United States? Because I have very questions about all the immigrants that they told me it will be nicer if I go to New York, or it will be expensive if I go to Illinois, or if I go to Texas, or if I go to any other state like California, or if you go to Louisiana. So I was asking myself, how do you guys know? And if you have like any advice to give me how to treat those people, these immigrants that I have right here. and how to give the best answer to
Porque
them.
ellos sufren,
Because they suffer,
porque cuando pasan no les dan permiso para trabajar.
because when they cross, they don't have any permission to get a job on there.
Y ellos no quieren ser carga para su familia
And they
o amigos.
don't want to be a charge for the family or the friends.
Y ellos me dicen, es cierto, señora Tamayo, como usted decía, no hay sueño americano.
And they told me that's right, Miss Tamayo, there's no American dream.
Venimos a trabajar y a ser útiles a este país.
We came here to this country to work and to be useful.
Pero no nos dan las armas.
They don't give us the strength and the weapons.
El gobierno americano para ser útiles y productivos rápido.
So the American government does not give us the weapons and the things necessary to be productive in that country.
Yo me pregunto,
I wonder myself,
¿cómo podemos hacer entre todos
how we can make with all of us
que migración les dé su carta de trabajo directamente?
how we can make that migration give all the immigrants the job permission, the letter of permission to them.
Porque al final de todo
Because at the end of all,
seguirán siendo migrantes sin derechos
they will be still being
o refugiados.
immigrants without any permission, without any productivity.
Porque sabemos
Because we know
que se tiene que trabajar día con día.
that they need to work day and night.
Y mucha gente está abusando de ellos,
And a lot of people there, they are abusing of them,
pagándoles un sueldo muy bajo
paying them what it's not fair,
y tienen que trabajar escondidas para otros.
and they will need to have another job. They will need to have a second job. Because
Right. No, these are really big
Gracias.
questions.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. If you'd like to maybe stay on after we end the call, maybe we can talk a little bit more. I know that I'm sure that a couple of us would love to chat more. These are big questions that we're all trying to answer too, just for our group. So if you're willing to stay on afterwards, we can talk a little bit more. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's all we have time for tonight. I do want to say thank you to everyone else who was able to come, and we welcome you to stay on if you'd like to continue the conversation. But we do just want to say thank you so much to everyone. Thank you to Molly. Thank you to all of those in our border support group, to Rabbi Bassin, to Reverend Julia, and have a great night, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you for inviting us to be part of this conversation.
Thank you for
so much for
coming.
being here.
Gracias, gracias.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gracias,
Yeah.
Altagracia.
Muy amables a
Gracias,
todos.
señora.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm
Felicidades
very
por
glad.
esa gran labor que está
Un placer
haciendo.
conocerle.
So
Dios
nice
la
to meet
bendiga.
you.
Ujú.
Amén.
Is John still on? Because of course my Spanish is never going to do this. No, dear. Okay.
He's off.
I think
Yeah. One of the things, for anybody who can translate this, my Duolingo hasn't made. Do you
I
speak
speak a
some?
little Spanish. So,
Well, what I
Altagracia,
want, yeah,
en
what I
el
wanted to, go ahead.
En el chat hay un website con la información de ciudades con la cuesta lo más alto de vivir. ¿Puede mirar ese chat al lado?
Yeah.
Okay. So what?
Well, what I wanted to say is, Altagracia, there are Republicans, son personas en los Estados Unidos que son conservative, pero necesitan personas que trabajan. So they're being, you know what I'm trying to say is that one of the things that I'm learning is that one of the areas of common ground is that there are conservatives who want to promote guest worker programs or other ways to invite immigrants because we have a labor shortage. En nuestro país necesitamos personas que quieran trabajar. And so that's the sort of ridiculous thing, is that no tienen documentos que pueden trabajar. So they don't have the legal authority to work, but we all know that we need workers.
Ana
And
dice
so-
que hay gente quienes son muy conservativos en Estados Unidos, pero esas personas también necesitan trabajadores.
Sí.
Y es una lástima que no tienen permitas trabajar. Y los conservativos quienes necesitan trabajadores apoyan programas nuevas para trabajadores huéspedes. Is that
Yeah,
good?
yeah,
Okay.
that's better than I said. That's for sure.
No, it's my best
Sí,
try.
sí lo entiendo. Es como Canadá, que pide cada año 3,000 trabajadores
Sí,
y que retornan a México cada año.
sí.
Pero las condiciones de aquí es el refugio. Es un proceso muy largo porque ya no hay abogados gratuitos. ¿No se llama?
Sí, no, I know what you, there's it's like the situation in Canada where they do that and they work and then they return, but they need attorneys, you know what I mean? They need, it's not a straightforward program where you just go over.
Ana dice que es la misma situación en Canadá, donde van a trabajar y regresan a México, pero es complicado porque necesitan abogados y todo eso, mucho papeles. Eso.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a terrible, malísima situación. Yeah, it's a terrible situation.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Lo siento que necesito leave.
Abogados, sacerdotes, padres, abogados.
Yes, and I will need like padres to be lawyers as well. It would be really
Yeah,
nice
that's
to have
right.
those.
Yeah.
Para pro
Sí.
bono, dile.
Just like
Sí.
a pro bonus will be nice.
Sí, necesitamos muchos abogados. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Landon. Thank you. Gracias.
Yes.
Alta gracias.
Muchas gracias a
Gracias,
todos.
Alta Gracia.
Gracias,
Bye.
Alta Gracia, por
Thanks,
estar con
Ana.
nosotros. Nos vemos.
Thank you. Your Spanish
you
is
all.
great.
It's not that good, but it's something.
It's good.
It's very helpful.
Bye.
Nos vemos.
Buenas